Good morning, welcome, 1,000 welcomes. It's such a great gift to be here together. And we're meditating on the topic, love. And so this is part of our series, meditating on the energy of new light. And the idea is that in one way, we are that which is unchanging. So we are just pure wholeness, pure light that never arises and never departs. And so that aspect of ourselves, there is no change. There is only that which is eternal. And then there is the aspect of ourselves which pours forth in time and space and is here in this body, in this chair, looking out through these eyes, experiencing the human emotions and creating with the pure energy of creativity that is able to share through a human being, through ourselves. And that aspect of ourselves is invited to continually open to new light. So the divine, the eternal, loves to explore time and space through us. And so just to keep in mind a few principles, a few invitations. So we are light, and we are here in this vehicle of the body. We are navigating this vehicle of the body through time and space, just the same way that we would navigate a bus, or a subway, or a bicycle, or a unicycle, or a car if we were driving it. So we are not the car, we're not the unicycle, we're not the bus, we're not the metro. We are the consciousness and the energy that is traveling through that vehicle, that is moving through time and space in that vehicle. And so just to remember, this body is a very precious expression of light, and to honor the life force. And later we might have time to connect with honoring the life force that is in this divine body vehicle that we're experiencing right here and now. But to remember not to identify ourselves with that vehicle any more than we would identify ourselves with, if you've ever driven a wood-paneled station wagon or some other really fantastic vehicle. It's just a fantastic wood-paneled station wagon that you're driving. It's not you. It's just a vehicle that you're using to navigate. And so just as the vehicle, like that fabulous wood-paneled station wagon, can navigate some really interesting weather, our human self is capable of navigating some really interesting weather, some really interesting experiences. And yet we are that unchanging light that is not swayed, it's not shaken, it's not diminished, it's never afraid, it's never limited. And so if we just remember that, it can help us navigate with ease and with joy and with an openness, sort of recognizing that the way in which the divine wants to share through each of us is unique, always unique. And so if the divine shared one way through you yesterday, perfect, but also be open to the new, because the divine is ever new joy. And so if we are living in alignment with the divine will be sharing ever new joy, ever new kindness, ever new wisdom, ever new strength, ever new steadiness through us. So we're just opening to that. So a couple of scriptures which help us connect with this. From Jeremiah, and if you can, just open your heart and listen to the way the divine is singing to each of us, just inviting us to open our heart and be filled directly with the energy of pure love. In Jeremiah, the divine says to each of us, I have loved you with an everlasting love. And so to close your eyes, if you're comfortable, and open your heart, and to directly feel everlasting love here. Everlasting love is right here. How does it feel? I'm asking myself silently, how does it feel when I open my heart and I feel the energy of everlasting love? I let go of expecting that to take any particular form. I allow everlasting love to share itself with me here and now in a new way, with new directness and clarity and joy and generosity and open-heartedness. Trusting the presence of everlasting love in this moment, in this heartbeat, in this breath. And so this, I'm inviting you, if you like, keep your eyes closed, if it helps you connect with that energy. That's an invitation that we can connect with always. So we could be walking into an important meeting. We could be going to an important appointment. We could be having a significant conversation, connecting with the energy of everlasting love and opening to that, allowing ourselves directly to feel that presence, that support in every cell of the body, in the human heart, in the thoughts that are able to think through you, in the words that are able to speak through you. That will create new light. That will create the energy of unprecedented love. And that energy will show up to you in ways that are so fresh and pure. So it isn't possible to stay with a script if we're opening to this energy of everlasting love. And we're doing it directly in every moment. Another way of saying this is, even if we've known somebody, I know people who have been together for 50 years who are still delighted and surprised to see each other in the new morning. Like, oh my gosh, you're here. Hi, sweetie. This is amazing. And so it's not actually the same you that's greeting that person every morning for 50 years. It's not actually the same you that is greeting whoever it is that you're greeting. And they're not the same them. Because everlasting love is always showing up in this entirely fresh, new, pure, unprecedented way. And so when this happens, it's not that we receive love from other humans. It's that we are connected directly with the source of all love. And we are aware the source of all love is within me. And then pure, shining, bright love will naturally share through other humans in ways that are perfect for each moment. And you notice what happens. Attachment is gone, fear is gone, there's no cringing, there's no illusion of separateness. There is a direct awareness that the source of all love is with me, always. And the source of all love is also with absolutely every other human on the planet. And so notice what happens as well. That human also has a direct connectedness and ability and responsiveness so that they connect directly with the divine, the source of all love as well. Then there's no attachment. There's no shame, there's no judgment, there's no limitation. There is love, and it's pure, and it's fresh, and it's generous, and it's wise, and it's kind, and it's beautiful. And you also notice when we are in contact with that love, forgiveness, if you still think that there's something to forgive, melts away any pain. And so there is just the energy of wholeness, the energy of healing, the energy of balm. A couple of other scriptures. In Isaiah, the divine says to each of us, and if you can, just open and feel this directly. The hills may be removed, but my steadfast love shall not depart from you. Even if the mountains vanish, divine steadfast love is with you. Even as names and forms change as they do in time and space, steadfast love is with you. And so that steadfast love, when we are directly connected with it, rooted in it, grounded in it, but also completely open and able to allow it to pour down upon us, it will always reflect through, it could be complete strangers that we're encountering, but they will be sort of glinting that steadfast love back to us in entirely fresh and pure and beautiful ways. And we will know, this is another teaching before I share a couple of stories, something that St. Paul says, all things hold together. In the divine, all things hold together. So we're in that energy of wholeness. We're being held together in that energy that is interconnected and interwoven with all things. St. Paul also says, when we live in this way, the eyes of our heart are enlightened. And so that's the invitation for each of us. Am I allowing my eyes of my heart to be filled with light? The way that we do this, it's very clear from the rest of his letters and teachings, is by not allowing ourselves to be hard of heart. If we harden our heart, that does not allow this open-heartedness, this light that the eyes of the heart are capable of perceiving. It does not allow this steadfast, everlasting love to be reflected to us always. And so I have a couple of stories about contemporary lived examples of the way when we live with this open-heartedness, the divine is able to share itself with us, and is actually sharing us with ourselves in entirely fresh ways. And so the first was a video that I saw a couple of weeks ago, although I think that the video might have been taken over the summer. But a 15-year-old boy and his dad were snorkeling together. And the dad is holding the camera, and he's filming his 15-year-old son snorkeling. And it's like one of those underwater cameras. So you can see the body of this young boy snorkeling, and you can see it from the underwater perspective. A sea lion swims up to the 15-year-old boy and hugs the 15-year-old boy. For a whole minute, they do a slow dance together underwater, just hug. The sea lion is hugging the boy, and they're doing this slow dance underwater. And the boy said later, when he was asked about it, I was filled with so much ecstasy that I almost forgot to breathe. And it's just like this unprecedented way in which the divine is always wanting to embrace us in a completely new way. And the boy asked later about it. He said, I wasn't afraid. He was like, maybe I should have been afraid, but I wasn't afraid. And so that's that kind of open-heartedness, that allowing life to embrace us. In this case, it was allowing the life to embrace us through that form of that sea lion. And this is allowing ourselves to trust our own steadiness and to trust our own strength, our own open-heartedness, to allow ourselves to be a dancer with all of life. And when we allow ourselves to be a dancer with all of life, it'll be different. So the divine won't be dancing through you, probably, in that particular way, but the divine may be dancing through you, with you, through the birds that sweep across the sky as you exit the building. If you just allow yourself to notice the birds, and allow yourself to notice the way that's the energy of all of life, the energy of steadfast, everlasting love greeting you in the form of the birds. Or if you give yourself permission to feel directly the divine love that is here now, and you look at the colors of the leaves on the trees right now, their color is so saturated, it's almost not possible to look at them when you look with an open heart, because the colors are so beautiful and vivid, it's almost too much to take in using our senses. And so it's everywhere when we just allow ourselves to move through life with this open heart. And another contemporary example, so this is kind of a funny example. This man and his friend were on this road trip, and they were driving the man's old car, kind of like a beater car. I don't know if anyone's had the joy of traveling with a beater car, but like prayer and faith are part of driving when you're driving a beater car. So they're engaged in this process of prayer and faith, and they're doing this trip like across states, and they're in North Carolina, and they're taking turns driving so that they can make better time, and the friend is driving, the man is sleeping in the back seat, and it's at night, and the man wakes up from his sleep in the back seat because the engine of the car has gotten loose, and it's just dropped out of the car. And so they get out, they have this kind of open-hearted approach to travel, and they find a board nearby, and they use the board to kind of wedge the engine back into place, and then they're near an exit, and so they together push the car down this winding exit, and normally I don't name brands, but I will in this case. It's a Renault beater car that they're driving. There's a Renault dealer right there. And the next morning, the Renault dealer bolts their engine back in place, He charges them $10, which is exactly the amount of money that the man has in his pocket. And he says, oh, by the way, did you know I'm the only Renault dealer in the state of North Carolina? And so open-heartedness, it travels with us, whatever our experience may be. If we remain open-hearted and we say, okay, so this has happened, how do we respond in open-heartedness with as much wisdom and love as we possibly can? And the divine will show us what the next step forward is. So in that case, first came the board, and they used it to kind of wedge the engine back in. And then came their own self-effort. So they worked together to take the car down the exit, down the off-ramp. And then came the generosity that shared through that dealer who put their engine back in place and only charged them $10, which was the exact amount that they had. And so this is an example of the way in which each of us is invited to live that energy of open-heartedness. And when we live in this way, we have an awareness that as soon as a question arises, the divine will show us the answer if we're open to it. So as soon as we have the awareness of, oh, this would be good to respond to, the divine will be showing us solutions. When we live in this open-hearted way, we're not cut off from the energy of pure consciousness. And pure consciousness is aware, say that our human mind is able to think of only one solution. That divine awareness of pure consciousness is like, there's 51 solutions. There's 1,001 solutions. Let's see what's most fun. And so the way that we avail ourselves of those solutions is to be open to it. And so if your conscious mind is starting to get worried or afraid or to feel cut off from solutions, then consciously just say, I am open to envisioning the best possible results. And then feel your way into it. So how does it feel when just such a beautiful solution comes? Feel what that energy of the solution feels like. Don't look for the solution to show up in one particular way. Just say, how does that energy of the solution feel? When I'm in contact with that energy of, oh, relief, oh, that's so natural that that energy of the solution would share itself with me in that particular form, then you're greeting possibility everywhere, always. And that's that energy of that unprecedentedness, that energy of that newness. So I'll share with you one more story, and then let's meditate a little as well. But this additional story, and so you can see the three stories kind of ramp up in terms of intensity. So the first one is just sort of like, oh, I'm being hugged by a sea lion, and we're doing a slow dance underwater. And the second one is, I wake up in the middle of the night, and the engine has dropped out of my car. What do we do now, Divine Grace? And then the third one is even slightly more intensified. And so this is another true story, a contemporary person who was sea kayaking. And so she's sea kayaking, and a storm sweeps up. And she doesn't know that the storm is sweeping up. And I mean, it's a storm. Like, it's a storm that lets you know the storm is a really powerful storm. And all she can do is keep paddling. And she's basically like screaming and laughing and crying and totally open-hearted at the top of her lungs, saying to the divine, if you want me to be here, I will be here, and I will keep paddling. And also completely aware that if the divine chose for her to be somewhere else, that also was part of life and was part of her continuing to paddle. And so there was no fear. There was just like this absolute exultation, absolute joy, like awareness that even in the storm, that's the energy of the wholeness of life sharing through all of the elements. And the energy of the wholeness of life also shares through the sea kayak and the paddle that she was holding, and her awareness, which allowed her to say, I'm totally open. The energy of life is fully here. I want to be here if the divine wants me to be here. And I'm completely open to all of life. The divine will absolutely put me in the right time and the right place, always. I am always in the right place at the right time. And in that particular case, the divine carried her through, and she's here in the body to tell that story. And so when you have that connectedness and that awareness, there's also no fear. Even living at that life and death point, there's no fear. And there's knowing that what humans call death is the other coin, the other side of the same coin that humans call life. All of it is held. All of it is precious. All of it is sacred. And choose to be here as long as you possibly can, because it is an incredible gift, completely precious, to be here in the body in the ways that we are here. And so for each of us, we are connecting directly with this everlasting love. For each of us, we are aware the hills may be removed, but divine steadfast love shall not depart from us. What that means is this divine steadfast love, it will always show up in new ways, because we know that in our human experience, names and forms, times and places, they do depart from us. And so we're loving ourselves through what humans experience as loss and what humans experience as change. And we are aware, as hard as this is to say from a human perspective, even what humans experience as loss is an expression of everlasting steadfast love. Everlasting steadfast love is with us always, in the arrivings and the departings, and in what comes next, and in the new that comes after. Everlasting steadfast love is when the eyes of the heart are open, and when the heart is filled with light, no matter what the human experience is. Everlasting steadfast love is here when we recognize that in the divine, all things hold together. And so I'm going to invite us, if you like, to close your eyes. I'm closing my eyes. And I'm just inviting us directly to feel this again. So silently, I open my heart and I allow myself to see and feel the everlasting, steadfast love that is here now, in the energy of sweetness and joy, the spontaneous, fresh ways the divine shares with us, whether that's the sea lion hugging us and doing a slow dance, birds flying across the sky, the incredibly beautiful fall leaves whose colors are so vivid and saturated, it almost hurts to look at them if you look at them with an open heart. I allow myself to feel everlasting, steadfast love in the form of life energy in my body. I allow myself to feel everlasting, steadfast love here and now in the unexpected things that happen. The way that the car engine is capable of falling out and giving us an opportunity to open to new expressions of everlasting, steadfast love. Silently, I give myself permission to notice and to feel the everlasting, steadfast love here in my heart. And now connecting with the way everlasting, steadfast love is with us through all storms. And so the same expanded, vast, wise life energy that shows up as the storm shows up as each of us. And so what we are invited to do, if we are aware of moving through a storm, is to align ourselves with that vast, wise, kind, universal life energy. And open to that, and allow that to navigate us forward through the storm. Being completely open-hearted to pure life energy in the midst of whatever it is that we are moving through humanly. Give yourself permission to feel, beyond all limits and boundaries, the way universal life energy is here as you, And it is the same universal life energy that radiates light and warmth through the sun. It is the same universal life energy that is steadiness in the earth beneath your feet. It is the same universal life energy that radiates the most incredibly kind, sweet, divine love through the energy of spiritual friends, through the energy of a meditation community as we meditate together, through the energy of an amazing teacher like Swami Nityananda, or another teacher you know and love, or a teacher who calls to you across the ages. Your own pure-hearted energy of love is of that same source of divine love. Allow your heart to open. Allow yourself to feel directly. The divine is singing to each of us, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Mountains may be removed. My love for you shall not move. The eyes of the heart are filled with light. The eyes of the heart are open. The eyes of the heart allow each of us to see and notice and feel directly the sacred, beautiful, fresh, precious presence of divine love right here and right now. In the divine, all things hold together. All things. Thank God, and God bless us all.